Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs high-level meeting with External Affairs Minister, Defence Minister, National Security Advisor, Chief of Defence Staff and 3 service chiefs in New Delhi. India-Pakistan to hold next round of DGMO level talks as normalcy returns to border towns of India after days of heavy shelling by Pakistan. 32 Indian airports resumed regular civil flight operations. US-China agree on a 90-day pause in tariff war, slash tariff levels substantially. The news to ease pressure on global financial markets. Iran does not seek nuclear weapons, says President Pezeshkian, reiterates stand after 4th round of talks between Washington and Tehran in Oman. Bulls roar at India's financial hub, the Lal Street. Sensex surges over 2,500 points in afternoon trade. Nifty jumps 700 points. And it's the end of yet another era in world's Test cricket. One of India's most celebrated and successful batter calls it a day. Virat Kohli announces retirement. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a high-level meet at his residence in New Delhi. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, NSA Ajit Doval, Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan and Chiefs of 3 services were in attendance. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri was also present in the meeting. So after days of escalation between India and Pakistan, the DGMOs of India and Pakistan reached an understanding on halting all military actions and are set to hold talks for the 2nd round on May 12th this evening. In a high-stakes development following the launch of Operation Sindoor, the Ministry of Defence held a joint press conference on Sunday to brief the nation on the operation's progress and strategic outlook. Addressing media, DGMO Lieutenant General Rajiv Ghai said that those strikes across those 9 terror hubs left more than 100 terrorists killed.
Those strikes across those 9 terror hubs left more than 100 terrorists killed, including high-value targets such as Yusuf Azhar, Abdul Malik Rauf and Mudassir Ahmed that were involved in the hijack of IC-814 and the Pulwama blast. The line of control was also violated soon after by Pakistan, and the erratic and rattled response of our enemy was apparent from the number of civilians, inhabited villages and religious sites such as Gurudwaras that were unfortunately hit by them, leading to a sad loss of lives. The Indian Air Force played a major part in these strikes by engaging some of these camps, and the Indian Navy provided wherewithal in terms of precision munitions.
DGMO Lieutenant General Rajiv Ghai also said that Pakistan flew drones and aircraft into our airspace all across the borders and made largely unsuccessful attempts to target numerous military infrastructure.
Operation Sindoor was conceptualized with a clear military aim to punish the perpetrators and planners of terror and to destroy their terror infrastructure. What I do not state here, of course, is the often stated determination of India and its intolerance to terror.
Addressing media, Air Marshal A.K. Bharti said that the aim of the 7th of May strikes was to target terrorists and their infrastructure and not any other infrastructure, especially not Pakistani civilians or military establishments.
We carefully selected the targets, and out of the 9 selected targets, the target systems that were given to the Indian Air Force were the notorious training camps at Bhavalpur and Muridke, these being further from the international boundary. Through critical target system analysis, we analyzed what was to be done to annihilate these targets and plan to engage these targets with precision air-to-surface guided munitions so as to avoid collateral damage. On the 7th, our objective was to address these two terrorist camps, and that we did with precision. And thereafter, we maintained a robust air defense posture because remember, our objective was to target the terrorists and terrorist infrastructure, not any other infrastructure, not the Pakistani military, not the Pakistani any other infrastructure.
And DD India's Akshay Dongre joins us on the story for more. Akshay, do we know what is likely to be discussed at this meeting of the DGMOs of India and Pakistan this evening?
Well, we cannot presume what is going to be discussed or make any kind of assumptions as far as the strategy of the Indian Armed Forces are concerned. However, the only thing that has been the trend as far as these kind of DGMO level talks are concerned in the past. So usually they are in continuation of the last conversation that has happened, and what are the updates only on that. So as of now, there are no indication coming in that any kind of other things are going to be discussed, be it the Indus Water Treaty or the trade or opening up of the borders or any kind of allowance of Pakistani flights to go over India. So these things are not going to be discussed, that is for sure, because the last time DGMO level talks had happened, it was clarified that nothing else was discussed but the cessation of hostilities that was implemented. So clearly, at this point, we are expecting that what has happened so far as the ceasefire is concerned, and the stoppage of cessation of hostilities and the violation that have happened, or what kind of response that India has in terms of preparedness to combat terrorism, not only in Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir that is emanating out of there, but also in the state of Jammu and Kashmir and the rest of the country, be it the western borders or the northern borders and the districts especially that were impacted during the exchange of fire between the two armed forces. So how this is going to be implemented for a longer period, what are the solutions that have to be there as far as a more permanent cessation is concerned. So all of that will be discussed, how the implementation was done and how other kind of preparations took place. So everything that was discussed last time will be taken update of, and the DGMO level officers will also see how the differences are concerned when it comes to India. It is expecting Pakistani army to act in a very strong manner against terrorism. Otherwise, India will be forced to once again.
Okay. Akshay, DGMO of the Indian Army, Lieutenant General Rajiv Ghai, yesterday said that strikes across 9 terror hubs in Pakistan and POJK under Operation Sindoor killed over 100 terrorists. So time and again in every presser, it is being reiterated that India had only targeted terrorists and terrorist infrastructure, unlike Pakistan.
Well, because there are no terror infrastructures in India, then it's obvious that Pakistan was going to be rattled and, will be forcing the more vulnerable areas, especially the civilian population. Then that was, in a way, a war crime that if you look at it through the Geneva Convention as well as the laws around the world. So that is for sure that Pakistan was implementing a very nefarious design that was perfectly thwarted by the Indian Armed Forces. India has maintained from the very beginning that these strikes were only against terror and terror infrastructure, be it the internal areas of Pakistan, or be it the areas that are on the LOC or the international border. So that will be continued, and that's why the forces are saying that Operation Sindoor also continues as far as implementation of the war that has been started against terror is concerned. So clearly, while the DGMOs talk about exchange of fires and cessation of hostilities, clearly one thing is for sure that the kind of nefarious design that Pakistani armed forces will have to be observed even for the next several days, and the armed forces will have to stay on alert. Because it's a country that cannot be trusted, that they have showed again and again through several instances. But the Indian Armed Forces remain ready, and they are stronger than ever at this point.
Okay, thank you very much, Akshay. We'll come back to you as and when this DGMO meeting is held between India and Pakistan. Thank you. Now, India's Operation Sindoor marked a significant demonstration of the country's military and strategic prowess through a blend of military and non-military means. Indian Armed Forces carried out coordinated precision missile strikes on 9 terrorist facilities, 4 in Pakistan and 5 in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. In response to Pakistan's retaliatory drone and missile attacks on May 7th, 8th and 9th, India destroyed Pakistani air defences. India's air defense system neutralized all incoming threats, resulting in near zero casualties or material losses. India's counter-military actions on the night of 9th and 10th May damaged 11 Pakistani Air Force sites. So these sites are on your screen, and one of the airbase, Shahbaz Air Base at Jacobabad, saw large-scale destruction. Various ammunition depots and bases were hit, and 20% of infrastructure was destroyed at those sites. India bombed Pakistan's Bholari Air Base, and heavy losses were inflicted to air assets, including people and fighter jets. During the operation, multiple terror and military locations across Pakistan were attacked. Following Pakistani artillery and mortar shelling along the line of control, Indian troops responded with calibrated counterfire, destroying terrorist bunkers and Pakistani army positions. Under India's non-kinetic efforts, a suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty was a decisive move with far-reaching consequences. Pakistan depends on the Indus system for 80% of its 16 million hectares of farmland and 93% of its total water use. Any disruption in water flow threatens agricultural losses, food shortages, water rationing in major cities, and rolling blackouts that would cripple industries. By suspending the treaty, India gave a decisive message that water and blood cannot flow together. India closed the Atari-Wagah border and suspended all bilateral trade with Pakistan, halting exports of key goods. This imposed immediate economic costs on Pakistan, already grappling with inflation and high debt. India also cancelled visas of all Pakistanis living in India, showing strong resolve against terrorism. A complete ban on Pakistani artists was imposed, cutting off Pakistan's cultural influence in India. This exposed Pakistan's terror ecosystem globally and isolated Pakistan diplomatically. So, normalcy has returned to the border areas of India following the second day of peace along India's western frontiers. The overnight period in Jammu and Kashmir and other international border regions reported 0 incidents. Markets have reopened as usual, and border area residents are returning to their homes. This marks the first calm night in the recent period. However, the security establishments remain on high alert. Several border districts of Rajasthan on Monday saw people engaging back in routine activities, reflecting a sense of normalcy. As a precautionary measure, schools, colleges and coaching institutes are closed on Monday in several border districts, while blackout in Jaisalmer continued overnight along with Bikaner, Sriganganagar and Barmed districts. The administration has appealed to residents to stay alert and follow safety advisories. And our correspondents are now joining us from the border regions. Amritpal Singh joins us from Sahibzada Jeet Singh Nagar in Punjab, and Ankush Sharma joins us from Jammu. First, to you, Ankush, what is the situation like in the border towns of Jammu and Kashmir? Has normalcy returned there?
The normalcy has been restored in Jammu and Kashmir, and now the situation is fine. And in border areas, people are also now moving towards their homes again, which took shelter in their relatives or some other places. And now the people are opening their shops as usual, and here the normal life is again on the track. And if I want to mention here also that the schools and colleges, institutes also remain closed today as a precautionary measure, but it is highly expected that this evening maybe a new fresh notification will be there about regarding the schools and colleges in the region. And on the other side, I want to mention here that in Rajouri and Poonch, which is one of the most affected places during the shelling from border sites, the Poonch and Rajouri district is also normal now, and the situation is under the control. And in border areas, people are also now moving towards again their businesses, and the normalcy has returned. But yes, there are still misinformation there, because yesterday also we have observed some misinformation on social media, which can create panic among people, and the administration is working tirelessly to work on this matter. And the fake information is one of the major issue right now in Jammu and Kashmir.
Okay, is life slowly returning to normals in the border towns of Punjab, Amrit?
That's right. It's quite similar to what Ankush told about Jammu and Kashmir. The border districts of Punjab are limping back to normalcy. Schools remain shut. The notification says they are shut till today. We are waiting fresh notification from the district administration if the schools reopen tomorrow. But markets are teeming. I'm standing in one such market. You can see people behind me. It's afternoon, about close to about 40 degrees centigrade. But still people are out, and as evening progresses, you could see these markets teeming. But there are certain apprehensions, rumors, etc. go on. True to India, Pakistan's understanding, the military campaign and the firing has stopped, not the IW, not the propaganda. Propaganda messages are still doing rounds, so the district administration is appealing to the residents and locals not to believe them, because I think the idea is to create panic among the local population and spread all kinds of rumors. But they are saying that please believe official handles of the government or watch official channels like ours, which are or the public broadcasters. Please follow PIB and state government handles for fact checks. You know, the propaganda war is over. The war on the ground is the propaganda war is on. The war on the ground is over, really. But you know, it is limping back to normalcy. Airports are opening up. 32 airports around the northern western areas announced. If I talk about Punjab, Patiala, Ludhiana, Bathinda and Pathankot become operational, Amritsar continues to remain shut.
Okay.
Tanvi?
Okay, thank you very much, Amritpal Singh and Ankush Sharma, for joining us with all those updates. So, as Amritpal Singh was saying, civil aviation authorities have reopened 32 airports across northern and western India, which were temporarily closed for civilian flight operations earlier. The restriction, originally in place until 5:29 a.m. on the 15th of May 2025, has now been lifted with immediate effect. These airports are once again fully operational for civil aircraft, bringing relief to both domestic and international passengers affected by the closures. Travellers are advised to check flight status directly with the airlines and monitor airlines' websites for regular updates. So, Pakistan was once again globally humiliated in its conflict against India. after officers of all the three wings of Indian Armed Forces addressed a press conference with video and photo evidence to present proof of punitive strikes on Pakistani military installations. Pakistani press conference that followed generated a lot of interest and invited ridicule. Media organizations across the globe ridiculed Pakistan for imitating the press conference for mere optics, unlike Indian side, which presented irrevocable and undeniable proofs on the strikes. Pakistani generals instead indulged in a hogwash. Unverifiable clips from the social media did not cut much ice with people, raising doubts about their authenticity. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Russian President Vladimir Putin proposes direct negotiations for peace with Ukraine in Istanbul, Turkey. Zelensky indicates readiness for these talks. Albania's Prime Minister Edi Rama takes a strong lead in parliamentary elections.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. The fourth round of US and Iran talks over Tehran's nuclear program ended in Oman on Sunday, with both sides confirming plans for future negotiations. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that the latest talks were more serious and more detailed than previous rounds, indicating a potentially constructive direction for ongoing discussions. The officials said that both sides signaled readiness for further talks despite Tehran's insistence on enriching uranium and US hardline rhetoric.
We can now say that both sides have a better understanding of each other's positions. Many of the main points of disagreement have now been more thoroughly discussed. Their dimensions have been further clarified. There is now a better mutual understanding and the positions have somewhat come closer. I can state that we have decided that these negotiations will continue. Both sides are determined and we have agreed to hold the next meeting.
Meanwhile, speaking at a cabinet meeting, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian asserted that Iran has no intention of developing nuclear weapons. Pezeshkian underlined Iran's dedication to using nuclear technology for peaceful purposes, including its healthcare and agriculture.
The Islamic Republic of Iran is not seeking nuclear weapons. America said they wanted to be sure that we did not want to acquire nuclear weapons and we were ready with all our might, but for them to state and announce that we would abandon the issue of peacefulness in nuclear research and then for them to want to negotiate with us is something that is absolutely unacceptable. We need nuclear technology in healthcare, agriculture, industry, the environment and industry, and we are not going to give up this achievement so easily.
And on to the Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has stated that he is ready to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin this Thursday in Istanbul, Turkey. This announcement follows encouragement from US President Donald Trump for Zelensky to accept an immediate offer of negotiations with Russia. Zelensky also reaffirmed that Kiev's proposed ceasefire for Monday remains in effect and is awaiting a response from Moscow. In his evening address, he cautioned that Ukrainian forces are prepared to retaliate in if Russia violates the proposed truce.
We expect a ceasefire. The proposal for this is on the table. A complete and unconditional ceasefire, long enough to provide the necessary foundation for diplomacy, could bring peace much closer. I will be in Turkey this Thursday, May 15th, and I am expecting Putin in Turkey personally.
And on to West Asia now. Hamas has agreed to release Israeli-American hostage Edan Alexander, the last known American in captivity, marking a shift in the stalled Gaza ceasefire talks. Trump praised the decision and committed to advocating for lasting peace during his upcoming Middle East visit. DD India's Kajal reports.
Hamas has agreed to release Israeli-American hostage Edan Alexander, believed to be the last surviving American in captivity. The announcement, made on Sunday, marks a turning point in the stalled Gaza ceasefire talks. The breakthrough is a key component of wider initiatives aimed at ending the conflict. In a joint statement, Qatar and Egypt described Hamas's decision to release Edan Alexander as a promising move that could help revive Gaza ceasefire negotiations, which have been at a standstill since March.
Edan is a great guy, Jersey boy, all-American kid, great swimmer. Graduated from the high school like everybody else instead of college. Traveled to Israel, served in IDF, and found himself on the wrong spot and the wrong time. And here, 435 days later, we're here fighting for his return.
US President Donald Trump hailed the decision, vowing to push for lasting peace. In a social media post, he said, "This was a step taken in good faith towards the United States and the efforts of the mediators Qatar and Egypt to put an end to this very brutal war and return all living hostages and remains to their loved ones." Trump is set to visit the Middle East this week. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that Israel did not agree to a ceasefire or release of prisoners with Hamas. Netanyahu's office added that the only commitment made was to establish a safe corridor for the release of Israeli-American hostage Edan Alexander. Hamas had released 38 hostages under a ceasefire that began on January 19th. In March, Israel resumed its military operations in Gaza after Hamas refused to extend the ceasefire without a commitment to end the war. Israel said it will maintain its military operations until all 59 hostages are freed. Bureau Report, DD India.
Albania's Prime Minister Edi Rama looks for an unprecedented fourth term in office, according to partial results on Monday, which showed his Socialist Party with a commanding lead in Sunday's parliamentary election. The State Election Commission results showed that Rama's Socialist Party secured over 52% of the vote and 30% of the ballots counted. Meanwhile, the opposition Democratic Party was placed second with 34% of the vote. If the lead holds, it will give Rama 4 more years to continue his mission to bring Albania into the European Union by 2030, a pledge he centered his campaign around. Millions of Filipinos headed to polls on Monday for midterm elections, widely viewed as a gauge of the intensifying conflict between President Ferdinand Marcos and impeached Vice President Sara Duterte. Long queues formed early in Manila as voters elect officials for over 18,000 positions nationwide. However, the Senate race holds particular significance, with its results likely to impact the 2028 presidential election. The 12 senators elected will make up half the panel in Duterte's impeachment trial later this year, a case that could disqualify her from future public office. To keep her presidential hopes alive, Duterte must secure at least 9 votes in the 24-member Senate. 7 top Senate candidates were backed by Marcos, 4 supported Duterte, and 2 others, including Amy Marcos, were named honorary members of Duterte's PDP Laban party. You're with us on DD India News Hour, still to come on the show. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer unveils tighter immigration policy, says net migration will fall significantly. Germany turns first asylum seekers away at border in a bid to tighten immigration. We speak to our partners in DW Berlin. And Buddha Purnima celebrations across India Sri Lanka observes Vesak Poya, one of the most sacred days for Buddhists.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. A quick reminder of the headlines we are tracking at this hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs high-level meeting with External Affairs Minister, Defence Minister, National Security Advisor, Chief of Defence Staff and 3 service chiefs. India-Pakistan to hold next round of DGMO level talks as normalcy returns to border towns of India after days of heavy shelling by Pakistan. 32 Indian airports resume regular civil flight operations. US-China agree on a 90-day pause in tariff war, slash tariff levels substantially. The news eases pressure on global financial markets. Iran does not seek nuclear weapons, says President Pezeshkian, reiterates stand after 4th round of talks between Washington and Tehran in Oman.
मनुज पर छाता है पहले विवेक मर जाता है हित वचन नहीं तूने माना मैत्री का मूल्य न पहचाना तोले मैं भी अब चाहता हूँ अंतिम संकल्प सुनाता हूँ.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Jai Hind. Welcome to this second special press conference on Operation Sindoor. Like yesterday, we'll have the opening statements by the 3 senior officers who are here with me. You all know them well now. However, for those who were not here yesterday, let me introduce you to them. In the middle, we have Air Marshal A.K. Bharati, Director General Air Operations, who will provide insights on the air domain. To his right is Lieutenant General Rajiv Ghai, Director General Military Operations. He will cover the land aspects. And to my immediate right is Vice Admiral A.N. Pramod, the Director General Naval Operations. Following these briefings, we will be having a few question and answers. May I now request the DG Air Operations to commence the proceedings.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday, we had a detailed brief on the successful joint operations that were carried out to destroy the terror infrastructure in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, as well as in Pakistan itself. We also iterated that our fight was with terrorists and their support infrastructure and not with Pakistan military. However, it is a pity that the Pakistan military chose to intervene and bat for the terrorist, which compelled us to respond in kind. दोस्तों, हमारी लड़ाई आतंकवाद और आतंकवादियों के खिलाफ थी। इसलिए 7 मई को हमने केवल आतंकवादी ठिकानों पर ही हमला किया था। पर अफसोस इस बात का है कि पाकिस्तानी सेना ने आतंकवादियों का साथ देना उचित समझा और इस लड़ाई को अपनी लड़ाई बना ली। इस परिस्थिति में हमारी जवाबी कार्यवाही अत्यंत आवश्यक थी और इसमें उनका जो भी नुकसान हुआ वे खुद इसके लिए जिम्मेदार हैं। हमारी तरफ से हमारी एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम्स देश के लिए दीवार की तरह खड़ी थी और इसको भेदना दुश्मन के लिए नामुमकिन था। This brings me to the point, how have Indian forces managed to minimize the damage to both civilian and military infra in the country, in spite of the unrelenting efforts by the Pakistani forces? Most of you and the majority populace within the country have had a lot to say about the layered and integrated air defense systems put in place by the Indian Armed Forces, which includes the assets of the Indian Army, the Indian Navy, in addition to the primary air defense assets of the Indian Air Force. As you all are well aware, this robust AD system comprises of a large variety of multi-layered AD sensors and weapon systems, from point defense weapons like the low-level air defense guns, shoulder-fired manpads, and short-range surface-to-air missiles or SAMs, to area defense weapons like the air defense fighters and longer-range surface-to-air missiles within our inventory. Additionally, the numerous waves of drones and unmanned combat aerial vehicles employed by Pakistan were also thwarted by the indigenously developed soft and hard kill counter-US systems and the well-trained Indian air defense personnel. All this was brought together as an efficient and effective AD environment by the Integrated Air Command and Control System, or the ISCCS of the Indian Air Force, which accords us the net-centric operational capability which is vital to modern days warfighting. While much has been said and written about the newer systems, I would like to place on record the performance and efficacy demonstrated by even the older battle-proven AD systems like the Pechora, the Osa AK, and the LLAD guns in countering the Pakistani threat vectors in the current operations. They were all modern generations, but these battle-proven systems stood the test of time and took them on head-on. Another highlight has been the stellar performance of the indigenous air defense weapon system like the Akash system. Here, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to mention that putting together and operationalization of this potent AD environment has been possible over the last decade due to unwavering budgetary and policy support provided by the Government of India in acquiring state-of-the-art equipment and weapon systems. Some of the results achieved in countering the enemy threat vectors over the last week are now being shown on the screen. Shown on the screen is the probable enemy PL-15 missile, which is of Chinese origin. This missile has missed its target, and you can see the pieces now which are available with us. Another weapon system or weapon which was found was the long-range rocket, the pieces of which you can now see on the screen. We have talked about the loiter munitions and the unmanned aerial systems, and here are some of the glimpses of those systems which we have brought down. To your right, with the right undercarriage or the wheel, you can see is the Yeeha system, which is of Chinese origin with Pakistan. You can see some quadcopters, and you can see one odd Sonka drone hanging by the wire. All these have been brought down by our trained crew and air defense systems. As far as our offensive actions are concerned, yesterday I had already shared some details about the targets engaged by the Indian Air Force. The composite picture of the Indian Air Force targeting so far is now shown on the screen. As you can see, we have targeted the length and breadth of the adversary. I'm sure most of you would have already seen the effect of these strikes on ground, courtesy the large number of videos and photographs being circulated in the media. A few representative examples from the open source are now being shown to you on the screen. In fact, two of them. This is the strike on the Noor Khan Air Base. And you can see the effect. I'm sure most of you have seen the video. I have also picked it up from your sources only. And this is the aftermath of our strike at Raimiar Khan Air Base. You can see the massive crater that it has left on its runway. And you can see the pinpoint accuracy of our weapons. So with that, giving you an overview of how our air defense systems have thwarted the enemy drones, their fighter aircraft, their missiles, and resulted in minimal losses on our side. I would now hand over to the DGMO to cover his portion.
धन्यवाद एयर मार्शल भारती। मैं आज आप सब के साथ भारतीय सेना के एयर डिफेंस मेजर्स जो कि हमने इंडियन एयर फोर्स के साथ मिलजुल कर तालमेल में लिए, उसके बारे में कुछ बातचीत करूंगा। इस विषय में मैंने कल भी कुछ टिप्पणी करी थी, लेकिन आज मैं इस युद्ध के अहम एस्पेक्ट के बारे में आपको थोड़ा और पर्सपेक्टिव देना चाहता हूं। हमें एयर डिफेंस ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के एयर डिफेंस की कार्रवाई को एक कॉन्टेक्स्ट में समझने की आवश्यकता है। मैंने आपको कल बताया था कि पिछले कुछ सालों में आतंक की गतिविधियों का कैरेक्टर जो है उसमें कुछ बदलाव आ रहा था। अब हमारी मिलिट्री के साथ साथ मासूम सिविलियंस जो कि अपना बचाव करने में विफल थे, उन पर भी हमले हो रहे थे। 2024 में जम्मू सेक्टर में शिवखोरी मंदिर को जाते हुए यात्री और इस साल अप्रैल में पहलगाम में मासूम पर्यटक इस खतरनाक ट्रेंड के विशेष उदाहरण हैं। पहलगाम तक पाप का यह घड़ा भर चुका था। उसके बाद जो हुआ उसके बारे में हम कल विस्तार में बातचीत कर चुके हैं। क्योंकि आतंकियों पर हमारे सटीक हमले लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल और इंटरनेशनल बाउंड्री को पार करे बिना किए गए थे, हमें पूरा अंदेशा था कि पाकिस्तान का वार भी बॉर्डर के उस पार से ही होगा। इसलिए हमने अपनी एयर डिफेंस की पूरी तैयारी पहले से ही कर ली थी। हमारी इन्वेंट्री में शामिल काउंटर मैन्ड एरियल सिस्टम्स, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वॉरफेयर के साधन और एयर डिफेंस वेपन्स का इंडियन एयरफोर्स के इसी प्रकार के सिस्टम्स के साथ एक अनोखा मिश्रण किया गया। इसलिए आपने देखा कि जब जब पाकिस्तान एयरफोर्स ने हमारे एयरफील्ड्स और लॉजिस्टिक इंस्टॉलेशंस में 9 और 10 मई की रात को लगातार हमले किए, वो इस मजबूत एयर डिफेंस ग्रिड के सामने विफल हो गए। आपके सामने इस ग्रिड को एक तरीके से दर्शाया गया है। आप देख रहे हैं कि इंटरनेशनल बाउंड्री से कितनी लेयर्स, रडार्स, काउंटर अनमैन्ड एरियल सिस्टम्स, उसके पीछे शोल्डर फायर्ड वेपन्स, हमारे विंटेज एयर डिफेंस वेपन्स जो कि काफ़ी सालों से हमारी सेना में हैं। एयर मार्शल भारती ने भी उसके बारे में बात करी। और लास्ट में हमारे मॉडर्न एयर डिफेंस वेपन सिस्टम्स। तो कोई मौका नहीं था कि पाकिस्तान एयरफोर्स ये मल्टी टियर डिफेंस को पार करके पीछे हमारी एयरफील्ड्स या लॉजिस्टिक इंस्टॉलेशंस को टारगेट कर पाए। ये जो डायग्राम आप अपने सामने देख रहे हैं, ये मुझे एक इंसिडेंट की याद दिला रहा है। और मैं आपको इस उदाहरण के जरिए से एक ये एस्पेक्ट हाईलाइट करना चाहता हूं। जब मैं स्कूल में था तो तकरीबन मेरे ख्याल से ये 70 का दशक था और उस समय इंग्लैंड और ऑस्ट्रेलिया के बीच में, आज शायद क्रिकेट की बात भी करनी चाहिए क्योंकि मैं देख रहा था कि विराट कोहली ने टेस्ट क्रिकेट से रिटायरमेंट ले ली। कई भारतीयों की तरह वो मेरे भी फेवरेट क्रिकेटर हैं। तो 70 के दशक में ऑस्ट्रेलिया और इंग्लैंड की फेमस एशेज सीरीज चल रही थी और उस समय ऑस्ट्रेलिया के 2 बहुत तेज गेंदबाज जो कि क्रिकेट हिस्ट्री में बड़ा उनका नाम है, जेफ थॉमसन और डेनिस लिली, उन्होंने अंग्रेजी बैट्समैन और उनकी बैटिंग लाइनअप को तहस नहस कर दिया था। और ऑस्ट्रेलियंस ने उस समय एक कहावत निकाली थी, दैट फ्रॉम एशेज टू एशेज एंड फ्रॉम डस्ट टू डस्ट, इफ थॉमो डोंट गेट हियर देन लिली श्योरली मस्ट। और अगर आप इस लेयर को देखें तो आप समझ जाएंगे कि मैं आपको क्या बताने की कोशिश कर रहा हूं। तो अगर आप सारे सिस्टम्स को पार कर भी गए तो आपको फिर भी एयरफील्ड या लॉजिस्टिक इंस्टॉलेशन या जो भी चीज को आप टारगेट कर रहे हैं उसमें पहुंचने से पहले कोई ना कोई इस लेयर्ड ग्रिड का सिस्टम जरूर गिरा देगा। जो दुर्दशा कल आपने पाकिस्तान एयरफील्ड्स की देखी और शायद आज भी एयर मार्शल भारती की प्रेजेंटेशन में, हमारी एयरफील्ड्स हर प्रकार से ऑपरेशनल हैं। यही नहीं, पाकिस्तान के ड्रोन्स और वेपनाइज्ड यूएवीज से की गई हमलावर कोशिशें भी इस ग्रिड के कारण नाकाम हुई और जो बचे कुचे ड्रोन्स थे उन्हें हमारे शोल्डर फायर्ड हथियारों से मार गिराया गया। मैं यहां पर अपनी बॉर्डर सिक्योरिटी फोर्स की भी सराहना करना चाहता हूं। उनके डायरेक्टर जनरल साहब से लेकर बॉर्डर पर तैनात बीओपी पर पहरा देने वाले आखिरी जवान भी हमारे इस अभियान में बढ़ चढ़कर शामिल हुए और बहुत बहादुरी से उन्होंने हमारा साथ दिया। उनके काउंटर अनार्म्ड सिस्टम्स भी हमारे इस मल्टी टियर्ड एयर डिफेंस ग्रिड का हिस्सा थे, जिसके कारण पाकिस्तान की नापाक हरकतों का विनाश किया गया। आपने सुना ही होगा, जब हौसले बुलंद हों तो मंजिलें भी कदम चूमती हैं। In the end, I would like to highlight again that in every single domain that Operation Sindoor has been prosecuted, there has been absolute synergy between the three services. Not only have we, in this endeavor, been fully supported by our government, departments, and agencies, I cannot here not mention our 140 crore countrymen that have stood behind us with their prayers and goodwill, urging and inspiring us to achieve our mission and objectives. For that, we salute you. You are indeed the best. Jai Hind.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. To talk about the air defense capability, the Indian Navy operates as a composite network force capable of simultaneously addressing threats emanating from all domains, that is, air, surface, and subsurface, through amalgamation of advanced sensors synchronized on the combat management systems. In effect, the maritime force is able to ensure persistent surveillance, detection, and identification for a comprehensive maritime domain awareness, including the airspace. Effectively using multiple sensors and inputs, we are maintaining continuous surveillance to degrade or neutralize threats as they emerge or manifest, to ensure targeting at extended ranges. All these are conducted under the umbrella of a comprehensive and effective layered fleet air defense mechanism that caters for all threats, be it drones or high-speed missiles or aircraft, both fighters as well as surveillance aircraft. The fleet operates as a composite force, maintaining a surveillance bubble at extended ranges using advanced radars. Any aerial target that attempts to penetrate this bubble is detected and identified using various techniques and technologies, affording quick and clear distinction between commercial, neutral, and hostile aircraft or flying objects at ranges in excess of the anticipated attack range. The carrier battle group, with its integral air wing, provides the first layer of this layered mechanism. Adequately equipped and trained to high degree of proficiency, our pilots are able to operate both by day and night. In the current standoff, the presence of our aircraft carrier with large number of MiG-29K fighters and airborne early warning helicopters prevented any suspicious or hostile aircraft to close the carrier battle group within several hundred kilometers. अगर मैं सरल शब्दों में बोलूं तो कोई भी संदिग्ध और दुश्मन के हवाई जहाज को कैरल बैटल ग्रुप के कई सौ किलोमीटर पास आने का मौका नहीं दिया. Over the past few years, and most importantly, immediately after the cowardly incident by Pakistani-sponsored terrorist attack at Pahalgam, we had validated our anti-missile and anti-aircraft defense capability in a complex threat environment using cross-platform cooperative mechanism. Our powerful carrier battle group with formidable offensive capability was able to operate with impunity and maintained an uncontested presence in the area of operations. Effectively, it compelled the Pakistani air elements to remain bottled up close to the Makran coast, denying any opportunity to be a threat in maritime space. The Indian Navy maintains a credible capability to detect, identify, and neutralize any aerial platforms that threaten our units at sea. To sum up, the Indian Navy's dominance thus ensured that, should we choose to, we can strike at will. Thank you, Shamdo Varna, Jai Hind. May I now hand over to Director General Air Operations for further proceedings.
Thank you, Pramod. I think a lot has been said, and I would only end by saying and emphatically state that all our military bases, all our systems continue to remain fully operational and ready to undertake any future missions should the need so arise. और अंत में यह मैं स्पष्ट शब्दों में कह देना चाहता हूं कि हमारी सभी मिलिट्री बेसेस और सारे इक्विपमेंट और सिस्टम्स ऑपरेशनल हैं और जरूरत पड़ने पर अपने अगले मिशन के लिए तैयार हैं और तत्पर भी हैं। शुक्रिया दोस्तों, और यदि कोई अभी क्वेश्चंस हैं तो हम लोग तैयार हैं उसके लिए।
Just a second, ladies and gentlemen. Like yesterday, I'll request you to raise your placards, which most of you are doing. Again, repeating it, anything which is confidential in nature will not be responded to. And as you are aware, the DGMOs, all three of them, have got an important assignment after this, which you also are very well aware of. So we shall not be taking too many questions today. I started with both the ends yesterday. Today I'll start from the center, 237. 237. And I'll request you to please maintain, I'll ask you, I'll come to you.
हेलो हेलो सर, मैं आवाज़ आ रही मेरी? हेलो सर, मधुरेंद्र, मैं न्यूज़ नेशन से आपकी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस के शुरू होने के ठीक पहले एक वीडियो हमने स्क्रीन पर देखा जिसमें राष्ट्रकवि रामधारी सिंह दिनकर की कृष्ण की चेतावनी की प्रमुख पंक्तियों को उद्धृत किया गया और सीधे सीधे दुश्मन को ये संदेश दिया गया कि याचना नहीं। मधुरेंद्र, मैं न्यूज़ नेशन से प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस शुरू होने के ठीक पहले राष्ट्रकवि रामधारी सिंह दिनकर की जो कृष्ण की चेतावनी है उन पंक्तियों को सामने रखा गया और कहा गया कि याचना नहीं अब रण होगा, जीवन जय या मरण होगा। कल शिव तांडव स्त्रोत के जरिए दुश्मन को संदेश दिया गया था और आज राष्ट्रकवि रामधारी सिंह दिनकर की इन प्रमुख पंक्तियों के जरिए ये किस तरह के डिटरेंट को क्रिएट किया जा रहा है, किस तरह के मैसेज को दिया जा रहा है, इसको थोड़ा इलेबोरेट करके अगर आप बताएं तो जाहिर तौर पर ये संदेश और व्यापक तौर पर जाएगा। और एक छोटा सा सवाल मेरा यह है कि ड्रोन अटैक को लेकर जो बातें सामने निकल कर आई हैं, एक बहुत हाइप क्रिएट था टर्किश ड्रोन को लेकर, TV2 और उसके तमाम ड्रोन को लेकर। ऐसा लगता है कि वो हाइप और ओवररेटेड ड्रोन जो है वो भारत में धराशायी हो गया, एक मैसेज दुनिया को चला गया कि अब हाइब्रिड वॉरफेयर में इसकी औकात नहीं बची है।
ओके, ऑल राइट, ओके, थैंक यू। आपने क्या नाम बताया अपना और किस एजेंसी से हैं? न्यूज़ नेशन से। बहुत अच्छा लगा आपकी हिंदी सुनकर और हिंदी कविता सुनकर। तो मेरे कलीग ने अभी बताया, आई थिंक आई मेंशन्ड येहा टू बी ऑफ चाइनीज ओरिजिन। आई वुड लाइक टू करेक्ट माई सेल्फ, द येहा ड्रोन्स आर ऑफ टर्किश ओरिजिन, सो दैट कम्स टू योर क्वेश्चन। ऑल राइट, चूंकि आपने शुरू किया श्री रामधारी सिंह दिनकर जी की कविता से, हमारे राष्ट्र कवि रहे हैं, और क्या संदेश दिया जा रहा है, तो मैं बस आपको रामचरितमानस की एक कुछ पंक्ति याद दिलाऊंगा, आप समझ जाएंगे। तो याद कीजिए वो पंक्ति जो है, विनय न माने जलधि जड़, भय 3 दिन बीत, बोले राम सकोप तब, भय बिन होए न प्रीत। तो समझदार के लिए इशारा ही काफी। और जहां तक ये ड्रोन, टर्किश ड्रोन्स का सवाल है, आपने देखा किस तरह के रेकेज यहाँ पे फोटोग्राफ्स हमने दिखाए हैं, चाहे वो टर्किश ड्रोन्स हो या और कहीं के भी ड्रोन्स हो। हमारे काउंटर यूएस सिस्टम्स, हमारे ट्रेन्ड एयर डिफेंस ऑपरेटर्स पूरी तरह सक्षम हैं, और हमारी देश की जो इंडिजिनस कैपेबिलिटी है काउंटर यूएस के लिए, उसने दिखा दिया है कि चाहे किसी भी तरह की टेक्नोलॉजी आ जाए, हम उसको काउंटर करने के लिए तैयार हैं। और मुझे बोलने की ज्यादा जरूरत नहीं है, आपने खुद ही अपनी आंखों से देखा है हमने इनका क्या हश्र किया है। धन्यवाद।
All right. 226.
Sir, Aditya Raj call from TV9 Network. Yesterday, the DG ISPR came out with a press conference, and while you have been continuously providing satellite images and proofs undeniable proof really of the airstrikes that happened and the damage that is caused. There's no evidence coming in from the other side. What do you think is there? Are they trying to bluff their people? Are they trying to build some kind of a propaganda for the anger that domestically is there in Pakistan? And secondly, related question, you mentioned Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists. The brother of Maulana Masood Azhar, Rauf Asghar, who was killed. Pakistan DGISPR is trying to build a propaganda where he's saying that Lashkar-e-Toiba, Rauf from Lashkar-e-Toiba was at the entire funeral, but he's saying that he's alive, and they're trying to confuse the people because the two names are similar. The Jaish chief, who is the brother of Maulana Masood Azhar, and the Lashkar guy who was with the Pakistan army at the funeral. So could you clarify what has really happened? Because there is a lot of propaganda and information warfare happening from the Pakistan side. Thank you.
I think the first part of the question you have answered yourself. I need not delve more on it. Why they are doing what they are doing, information is not forthcoming from there. Obviously, that is expected, and they would do whatever it takes to assuage their people and minimize whatever information about the damage comes out. Here, I would like to clarify, as I said yesterday, our fight is with the terrorists. Our fight is not with the Pakistan military or Pakistan civilians. So that is very clear, and we are very clear in our targeting. So coming to the second part of your question as to what media or what propaganda spin the other side is trying to make out a story. Well, it is for them to answer, and it really is not a military question for us to answer here. We've done our job, we have done what we are expected to do, and that is it.
I'll come this side, 249.
सर, मैं पूनम पांडे हूँ नवभारत टाइम्स से। पाकिस्तान ने जो प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस की थी उसमें एक सेंटेंस उन्होंने यूज किया था कि दिस इज न्यू आर्ट ऑफ वॉर। तो हम सब ने देखा, शायद पहली बार देखा कि किस तरीके से आसमान में दोनों एयरफोर्स के एयरक्राफ्ट थे। क्या आप बता सकेंगे, क्योंकि हम जो लगातार जब कवर करते हैं हम देखते हैं 2016 में के बाद ड्रोन का जो पूरा वॉरफेयर में रोल है वो दिखा था, तो हमने भी वो दिखाया, और किस स्तर की ये वॉर थी? अगर थोड़ा आप क्लैरिटी दे सकें कि कितने एयरक्राफ्ट उनके इन्वॉल्व थे, लगभग कितने हमारे थे, क्या इसे अब तक का सबसे बड़ा जो जंग हुई है आसमान में वो कहा जा सकता है, और ड्रोन के रोल पे थोड़ा और ज्यादा, क्योंकि 2016 के बाद जिस तरीके से बढ़ा है।
देखिए, जैसा मैंने कल कहा था कि इस लड़ाई के डिटेल्स अभी हम शेयर नहीं कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि इसमें काफी कुछ ऑपरेशनल डिटेल्स होंगे। कितने जहाज थे दोनों तरफ से, किस तरह की लड़ाई हुई, these are questions of technical details which we may not be able to share firstly, and which we may not be able to share to explain to you the way it needs to be explained. Suffice to say कि yes, ये एक दूसरी तरह का warfare था, and it is bound to happen. हम लोग पिछली लड़ाई, अगली जो कभी भी लड़ाई होगी, भगवान करे ना हो, लेकिन अभी यदि हुई तो ये पिछली लड़ाई की तरह नहीं होगी। हर एक लड़ाई जो है अलग तरीके से लड़ी जाती है, और टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट्स हो रहे हैं। हम भी उस एडवांसमेंट्स के हिस्सा हैं, हमारे एडवर्सरीज भी हिस्सा हैं। सो इट इज अ कैट एंड माउस गेम, एंड यू हैव टू बी अहेड ऑफ द कर्व टू बीट योर एडवर्सरी. So that is what is going to happen. So if you ask, was this different? Was this engagement different? Definitely it was different. And a lot of new aspects have come out, but we were prepared for it, we were trained for it, and we were equipped for it. That is the only aspect that I can share with you at this time. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the last question, 161.
Hi, sir. Thank you, sir. Snesh Philip here from the print. So the social media, the Twitter is abuzz with the fact that we hit a site called Kirana Hills, which is supposed to be the nuclear storage facility. And there is a lot of rumors about Sargodha. There are foreign analysts who've mentioned that the Sargodha attack led to certain leaks. is there a confirmation that we actually hit Kirana Hills, or we were careful of not to do any such thing? Thank you.
Thank you for telling us that Kirana Hill houses some nuclear installation. We did not know about it. Okay. And we've not hit Kirana Hills, whatever is there. Okay. I did not brief in my briefing yesterday. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. As I said yesterday, as I said earlier and yesterday, it is difficult to take everybody's questions, and the DGMOs have to reach somewhere right now. So thank you for coming. Please send in your questions on paper. We will definitely answer them. Thank you.
All right, that was a press briefing on Operation Sindoor, where DG Air Operation Air Marshal A.K. Bharati, DG Military Operation Lieutenant General Rajiv Ghai, and DG Naval Operation Vice Admiral A.M. Pramod took part. It was again reiterated that on 7th of May, India only targeted terrorist infrastructure. Air Marshal A.K. Bharati said that it is a pity that Pakistan military chose to intervene and bat for terrorists, and Pakistan is alone responsible for the damage that has been caused to their nation. India's air defense systems acted as a wall in spite of the unrelenting efforts made by Pakistan. Indian armed forces stand ready for any kind of threat. Further, in the press, a debris of the destroyed Pakistani missiles and drones were shown. The destruction caused on Pakistan's Noor Khan Air Base was shown. Pakistan's Rahim Yar Khan Air Base was also crippled. It was shown. Let me now very quickly go to defense expert, Lieutenant General retired Rajiv Chopra, joining us on the show. General, it was said at the press conference, Operation Sindoor was directed against terrorists, but the Pakistani military chose to support the terrorists. So any damage they have incurred has entirely been their own fault. Your comments on that absolutely accurate statement?
Jai Hind. See, what I want to tell you viewers, that Pakistani army is a jihadi army. It has got deep-rooted relations with the terrorists. No, it has been defeated by the Indian army in the last 4 wars, 47, 65, 71 and Kargil. Therefore, after 71, they decided on a policy to bleed India by 1,000 cuts. They knew that they can't defeat Indian army by conventional warfare. So they took it this route of sub-conventional warfare, or as we call it, the low-intensity conflict or the terrorism warfare. Therefore, they had these young people who were recruited, indoctrinated, trained, equipped, and then sent across to J&K initially, and now they are being sent also to Kathua, Samai, parts of Punjab. And you have seen very, very clearly how after, when we struck the camp, the Pakistani army was in denial mode. They don't have any terrorist infrastructure. They also said that Pakistan as a nation is also victim to terrorism, which they are, because like they say, what you sow, you reap. So they also suffering terrorism, but they kept being in denial mode. And after Pahalgam, we took a very concerted decision to strike their camps. 9 camps where devastating effect was there, where the leadership was crippled. And what I want to bring out here, the visuals which have been shown in DD News is also very revealing, that all these terrorists their funerals were being attended by the top military leadership, from Lieutenant Generals to Major General, which was being led or conducted by a very serious terrorist. These all were draped in the national flag of Pakistan, and even the wreath for the on behalf of the Chief of Army Staff was laid. Even in Faisalabad, there was local district administration. Have you ever heard in any nation where the terrorist is giving a martyr status because they are using them as the cheap cannon fodder? It's a very cheap option for them. They train these there because they're indispensable. One jihadi goes, the next comes. So this cycle of terror continues with the sponsorship and handing of Pakistan. And ISI, famously known, is known to have deep relations with them they are hand in glove with the terrorist leaders, and they train, direct the operations on the wills and fancies of the army. In fact, there are some reports like terrorist Musa, who's been still absconding, and the hunt is there in J&K. He was from the Pakistan Special Services Group. So after retirement, they shed uniform and they become terrorists. And even some reports are there, the terrorist leaders are there who are in uniform. They wear the jihadi dresses as and when required, and they train, and they also doing leadership into J&K. One very pertinent fact which I want to bring out, that the homegrown terrorism, they are blaming the homegrown terrorists from J&K. After the abrogation of Article 370, there's a lot of prosperity. The security environment is good. The tourism has happened, and there's a lot of investments are happening. There's no homegrown terrorism, or very less. This was the worry of Pakistan. That is why what they have done is to send their own terrorists from our own side, so that Kashmir remains in poverty, and if it is in poverty, number of jihadis or terrorists will come, which is their nefarious design, the long-term design. This is what I want to tell you.
Yes, indeed. Talking of the nefarious designs of the enemy, it was a new low for Pakistan when it tried to attack civilians, temples, churches, gurudwaras in Jammu and Kashmir.
Yeah. What I want to tell the viewers, see, a professional army, like all armies, especially the Indian Army, doesn't hit the soft targets. That is the civilians. हिंदी में भी कहते हैं निहत्थे पे कभी वार नहीं चलाया जाता है. But Pakistani army is a weak army. They cannot do against fortified military positions, the installations, the air bases. Therefore, to bring panic and to tell the misery of war, they are targeting the civilians. And coming to the religious places, they have targeted temple in Jammu. They have targeted a Gurdwara in J&K. They have also targeted a Christian, if not a church, but an organization there.
Yes.
So what they basically are trying to do is to divide India on communal lines.
Yes.
This is their main motive, to have internal security problems in India to fuel another front from terrorism. If you've seen in Pahalgam also, they have targeted, they were checking which religion are you,
yes,
whether you can recite their holy book or not. If they couldn't recite or they were not Muslim, they were tortured. And that too in front of the ladies, where the people lost their fathers, sons, husbands. It was a very, very traumatic affair where we had to take action. That is what I am trying to say. It is a weapon of the weak,
yes,
to target the civilians and the non-armed people, which shows a new low for the Pakistani. They should hang their heads in shame. Even their Awam is not appreciating it. The same thing if India does on the other side of the border, because we also have got BSF and the army troops deployed all along the LC and the borders. Their villages are as close to the fencing, or you can say the zero line. And if we start targeting the civilians who are doing agriculture and roaming on the roads, it will be a very fatal blow to Pakistan. But India as a state policy and statecraft doesn't believe in targeting people without weapons and civilians, because people to people contact must remain. They are humans, and we are with them, all the people of Pakistan also, but we are not against the jihadis and the military leadership of Pakistan.
True. Now, Indian forces, as was informed in the presser, managed to minimize casualties and damage because of its multi-layered air defense systems. A word on that, sir, including the indigenously developed air defense systems like that of Akash.
What I want to bring out, this is the first time integrated defense system has been established, or joint operations have been carried out, like brought out today in the DGMO meeting, that it was a very strong wall. It could not be penetrated by Pakistan. And let me tell you, a robust air defense systems, it comprises of the Army, Air Force and the Navy. And major contributor is the Army. And the nerve center is the Air Defense Command and Control Position, which mans command post, which is the nerve center, the heart of the operations room for the air defense operations. Firstly, the entire, again in the diagram it was shown, the entire LC or the line of control, the international borders is a multi-layered system. They are covered by radars, the helicopter, the AWACS, which is called the eye in the sky, the entire, you can imagine, 3,300 kilometers of Pakistan territory is being covered 24/7, 365 days in peace and war by some or the other surveillance systems, which include satellites also, airborne systems, the ground systems radar. Now these are the radars which detects any unusual movement in air, which may be a missile, an aircraft or a drone. Now when we have this, wherever it detects, it locks on and passes the message to the command post. The command post has got a mix of weapons, which may be weapons, missile, maybe short range, long range, and the medium range and medium range. So these are the systems, and the command post takes a decision what kind of target it is and what kind of punishment is there. So in real time, it allows the weapon to fire it. Now coming to the indigenous, my kudos to the DRDO, our system, the Akash did wonders. It is a medium range system which was a mainstay in this battle. And even the Barak missile, the Igla missile, shoulder missiles did a wonderful job. Like S-400, it is a very, very costly system. It is meant for long range. It has a surveillance range of 600 kilometers and is basically meant for very heavy missiles like the cruise, the ballistic missiles or the air targets. It was, to my best of my knowledge, it was not used. And the old guns like brought out today by the DGMO vintage equipment, we had L-70, L-60 guns and USA AK, they again did a wonderful job. Now, there are two means to destroy the drones. One is the kinetic and one is the non-kinetic. Kinetic is basically guns and missile system, and the non-kinetic is the electronic warfare system. We also need to appreciate the electronic warfare system, because any drone which is flying in the air or any missile which is flying is being guided by a communication system. If you jam the system, it has got no communication, so it falls flat. Therefore, all these drones, whether it be swarm drones or any drone, single drone which is coming, is guided by some communication system. Otherwise, it can't home on the target. We call it the ground position systems. From the ground is being controlled. There's the ops room, and these can be destroyed easily as a soft kill or a hard kill, which word was today was used, soft kill and the hard kill. So these can be killed by soft kills by electronic war system, by jamming them, as the public may know. At times you go, your mobile is jammed. That is the jamming, and the hard kill is what we are seeing by any gun missile system.
Thank you very much, General, for explaining all that to us. Although India has provided concrete proof of its effective airstrikes, Pakistan has completely failed to do that and has only spread, obviously, fake news and propaganda. Would you also like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, let me tell you, it's the first time in warfare, nobody can be in denial mode, because we have gathered real-time intelligence and real-time, we have the high-tech weaponry and high-tech surveillance cameras. We have passed this information before and after all the targets which we have destroyed in a real time. No, the satellites are also doing this job. The aircrafts or the missiles are also carrying these systems. We have the eye in the sky which spotted the target before it was destroyed, and later on the images are taken post-destruction. We call it the PSDA, post-strike damage assessment. They assess the damage and see what was the target before and what was the after. And now, even now, we have shown the photographs of terrorist funeral where the army is attending. The wreath has been lowered by the chief of the army staff, and we have shown by the images which are there even in the social media of Pakistan, whichever is coming here. You have seen destruction, even in the assembly you have seen, even the people voices of Pakistani people are saying that devastating effect has been carried out. I think the world or India doesn't need any further proof. In fact, it tells the live factory of Pakistan. In fact, some speaker yesterday was saying, instead of Pakistan, we must call it Jutistan. That is my take on it.
All right. While India has clearly demonstrated its military efficacy and superiority in this conflict, are there any learning from the recent engagement that could be a guide to and further improve our defense systems?
Yeah, the learning is there. Our systems are little, mix of old baggage of old and new systems. Therefore, we had learned our lessons both from the Ukraine war, the West Asia war which is happening, and the other wars which are there. That drone is the weapon of the future. It has just arrived. Therefore, one thing is that we need to have a drone regiment or abundance of drone missile systems. That is point number one.
Okay.
Secondly, we also need to upgrade our air defense systems to the next level. Thirdly, it is a technology. More than it, what you have seen, it's a technological war. We have not crossed the line of control or the international border, but had a devastating effect as deep as Lahore and 100 kilometers inside the terrorist camps. So this all technology is high technology or niche weapons as we are calling it today, and it's the precision guided weapons. The fire and forget weapons are there. You fire it, it has all systems inside the warhead and it homes on the target. Next important thing I want to bring out is the kamikaze drones or the suicide drones or the armed drones which have been displayed, which carry a payload and they loiter, or as it being said, the loitering ammunition. It's a robot basically carrying payload, ammunition there. It loiters, it is being guided, loiters around the target, and as well as the target it sees, it confirms the target, and when it gets a ground report, it fires on itself. That is the new technology. Therefore, we have done enough. There are a lot of budgetary support has been there, a lot of policy direction is there on Atmanirbhar Bharat. We are acquiring from foreign countries and the budgetary support needs to increase so that we are prepared for the next generation of weapons with the next generation weapon, and we can bring credible deterrence. The Pakistani, we have demonstrated our willpower, we have demonstrated our destroying capabilities. We had a crippling effect. Therefore, I want to sum up. We need to upgrade technology. We need to have AI systems, the robotics, the quantum computing. Though as a layman, I don't have much knowledge of this. But all these weapons, the precision-guided ammunitions are there. We need to upgrade to our next level in basically robotics, artificial intelligence, and the next generation of warfare. To the use of space also is an important thing. I know our policy makers and the national leaders are looking towards this, and this is one lesson we have learned, that we must do it post haste. We must do it in quick time, for which budgetary reports are required, and it takes some time to get these technologies negotiation. The last thing which I want to say is the most popular word of Honorable Prime Minister is the Atmanirbhar Bharat. We have shown again messaging to the opposite side, the adversary, that yesterday again we have inaugurated a system where BrahMos is to be made. So indigenization, there are two things we must say. From the net importer, we must become a net exporter. You are well aware that we have bought the S-400 system, and this BrahMos system is being taken. Even the Indonesian president was here this year on 26 January because he shown keenness in a BrahMos system. Similarly, we are giving it to Vietnam, Philippines, all these countries, and with the East Asian countries are there, and their day is not very far with the Make in India, Make for the World, and Atmanirbhar Bharat. We, instead of a net importer, we'll be a net exporter. So we may keep importing weapons for some time. Therefore, this should be the focus. This is already the focus of the army. But I want to tell to the citizens of India that lot has been done, lot is required to be done, and lot is being done by the government in the armed forces. You must have faith
Yes.
in our armed forces, they can have a crippling effect, like what we did in Op Sindoor. We can destroy the enemy war fighting capability in a nutshell. In very less time, in 4 days, he was brought to his knees. Almost 20% of his war waging capabilities, his air bases were destroyed, and his more than 500 drones, and all his technology possibly imported from China is outdated.
Yes, and more than 100 terrorists also neutralized. Thank you very much, Lieutenant General Rajiv Chopra, for explaining to us all these warfare terminologies and what more needs to be done to further strengthen our defense systems. Thank you very much for being with us. One thing is sure, India's defense systems have acted as a wall in spite of the unrelenting efforts made by Pakistan. Indian armed forces stand ready for facing any kind of threat, and India is already proud of their defense forces. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live, and you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. So we'll be back with more news as and when it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja. From all of us here in New Delhi, thank you for watching. Namaskar.